Hello there, it's Jan here from JB Crafts. Thank you for joining me. Welcome back to the channel. I have a new project for you today, and we're going down the lines of a concept card and a little bit of construction at the same time today. So we've got a card and a gift box all in one today, and I've chosen to go sort of blues and lemons on this one. So we've got some nice blue pattern paper, and I'll show you where I've got that one from in the tutorial. And just added a little bit of lemon, just picking out some of the colours in the paper pad. And then underneath we've got this gorgeous sort of gift element with the box underneath. So it's actually an easel card. It stands up like so, and we've got the stopper at the front here to stop this sliding, and you can see that sort of shaping, and then the box underneath, which has got sort of a, it's almost like a matchbox style, so it's got the wrap for the box to sit in, and then you've got this pull out element where you could add a nice little gift, and then possibly, you know, once you've collapsed this, you could wrap the whole thing and present it as a gift for the card and the box all in one. So no specific dies required to make the actual box and the card. I did use 1 or 2 dies just for the embellishments, but I'm going to talk you through all the measurements and show you how to pop this together and create that lovely little gift. So the top here, I've got a vellum envelope, and then I've just kept my sentiments separate. I thought it'd be nice, you know, if you wanted to pop a little secret message on the back of there, and just slotted it in. You can tack it in if you want to, and then I've also popped a piece on the inside that I've just left blank if you wanted to write a message inside there to the recipient. So we'll pop that one over to one side, pop that up there for a minute out of the way. And I've got a few pieces of cardstock to get us started. There are a few elements to this. I've just chosen some cream linen cardstock for mine today, but you can use any cardstock, and all the pieces will cut from A4 cardstock, so you don't need anything larger than that. You can use your A4 or your US letter size card. So yeah, I've actually got some measurements at the side of me. Some of them I've got measurements on, and I'm going to go through the pieces sort of in turn. So let's start with the card base itself. We'll work on that first and put that together so that we've got the card. If you just wanted to make it as an easel card, absolutely you can. So I've got a piece that measures 10 inches by 5 inches. And I've scored it down the centre at the 5-inch mark, and again at 2.5 inches. I'll show you that on the scoreboard. And then I've got a second piece which is 5 by 5, which is actually the size of the card front. So the easel card's going to be a 5 by 5 design. So what we will do is we'll do the scoring on this and put this one together so that you can see how this part works. And then I'll show you the elements that you're going to need to make the box and the base for it. So like I said, 10 inches long, all right, and then I have scored it at the halfway mark, which is 5 inches here, to create the card itself. And then again, half of 5 is the 2.5 way mark. All right, now I'm just going to flip it over and redo that score line on the inside, purely because I'm going to be folding it the other way. I want the linen, this is a linen textured card, and I want that linen to show on the inside. So I'm actually going to fold this in half this way, and we're going to burnish those folds. And then this one I want to fold in again like so. So let's just move that for a second, and we will burnish those folds properly and then put this one together. Really, really simple to do the easel part of it. So again, just give those a real nice burnish because you want them to stay in position. So I've got the linen textured card here, and then all we're going to do is we're going to stick this one over the top of that fold, and I've got the linen texture on the front again. So really nice and simple. I am going to use my tape runner, and on this front rectangle I'm going to apply the glue to here. And the reason I do this is because I always forget, if I put the glue on the back of the card, I get that busy doing the whole thing, and obviously part of this is going to be stuck up from the card base. So yeah, tend to put the glue on this bit just to remind me that you only need it on that section. And then all I'm going to do with the linen facing up, so this is the smooth side, the linen's on this side, I'm going to pop the linen face up, and I'm just going to line these up at the bottom here with that bottom edge and give that a good press down. You can burnish that tape, make sure it's all stuck securely, and that is the basis of your easel card. Let me just give that one a good press again. So you've actually got here, it's going to stand like so. You can see that it should create that triangle like this. And then you'll need some kind of stopper. I chose to put a whole bar across. It could just be an embellishment. It could be your sentiment that you've laid up or put on foam, popped up on foam. But you can see that that's the element that we're going to decorate for the easel card itself. So we will pop that to one side for a second while I show you the rest of the bits and pieces for the box. Now I've got more sections for the actual box itself. So we've actually got the box, so I'll start with that bit because that's nice and easy. We'll do that one first. So this is 7.5 inches square. All right, now the actual base underneath is just a little bit bigger. Yeah, the box itself is 5 inches. It's the top and the bottom that I've done a bit bigger. And this one, all I've done is score it. I wanted my box to be 1.25 inches deep. So all I've done is score at 1.25 inches on all 4 sides. So all the way around, so that you've got equal sides. And that one's really straightforward. This is going to be the drawer element that pulls out. So I'll just pop that back again, and we'll do these pieces one at a time so that you can see them come together. And then again, wherever we've scored, we're going to fold and burnish. And then the same on the opposite sides. And then we're doing a little bit of cutting on this one. So I'm going to take my scissors, and the square part in the corner here, what I want to do is cut up the score line to where the next score line meets it. So I'm just going to free up that little square in the corner, and then I take out sort of a wedge like that, leave this edge straight for the time being. Okay, now if it's a rectangular box, I tend to do this on opposite sides so that the tabs go through onto the long side of the box to give it a bit more strength. Because this is square, I am just going to rotate, and I'm going to do the same on all 4 corners. So release the tab, take out a wedge, rotate, release that tab on the side where that little square is, take out the wedge, and then rotate, so that you should have one on each corner and they're all facing the same direction. So where we've taken the little wedges out, it almost looks a bit like sort of the windmill design. Okay, and then one of these tabs is going to go onto each corner. So I am going to use a little bit of my wet glue for this, just because it's a bit stronger for the fact that the drawer is going to be the movable part. So on each tab, we're just going to pop. Now then, here we go. Look, I've not used it today. It's always a little bit, I think it's because it's so warm in here. If I've been crafting before I do the videos, it's fine. But the first time I use it, I normally have to give it a little bit of a encouragement there. There we go. So each tab is going to get some glue. And then all I'm going to do is line this edge here, and fold it in and line this edge up with the outside of the box. And that way, you know, you've got a nice 90-degree angle on the corner there. Okay, give that a hold. Now mine's quite a quick grab glue, but if yours isn't, you can always add a little clip in there just to hold it while you work on the rest of it. So yeah, I'm just going to do the same on all 4 corners. Try and keep the glue on the tab jam. It works better that way. And then again, I'm going to line that edge up with the straight edge on the box. And we've got that nice corner shape, that right angle there. And again, just work your way around. And you can use tape for this. You can use tape runners for this. I just find with it being the drawer part that's coming in and out, I just think sometimes, personally, I think you get a stronger bond with the wet glue, but use whatever you have. Just want to secure those tabs. And then the last one the same. And then we're just going to slot that one inside and again line up that edge until it's nice and straight. Okay, so that's as simple as it gets for the drawer element of the box. And just get rid of that one for a second. And then what I tend to do is go back in with my bone folder, and just where I've got those tabs, I am just going to give some pressure, smooth out the glue. You can just see where I've gone into where the tabs folded in, just here. And then just each one, make sure that it has made contact with the side of the box there. And we've got our nice little square, 5-inch square box there, ready to slide in and out of the closure. Okay, so the next bit is the actual closure, the wrap for it. So if you imagine like the Matchbox style where the drawer slides in the wrap, I've done this in 2 pieces, and I did have a little bit of a trial with it. These are my templates that I made. I've actually made it in 2 pieces so that I could use my A4 cardstock. And you can see where I've been sort of working out the measurements. So I actually had a look. I folded the paper around the box first to see what I needed to do. You can see there. And I've worked out what those measurements were. And I've just added a 1/16 of an inch on each side. So it's an 1/8 of an inch in total. Just to get that wrap around the edges. And then the second one, I've got a 1/2 inch glue tab, and we're literally going to fasten them. So you're going to get this kind of shape, like so, for the drawer to slide in. So let's go through those measurements. We've got 2 pieces. We have got a 7.5 inch piece. Let me just pop that to one side. Oops. A 7.5 inch by 5 and a 6 inch by 5. So if you look at my measurements on here, I've got the 6 inch by 5 here. Something's not right there. Why is that bigger than that? Let me look. Five inches and 5 inches. That's right. So it's this piece that wasn't. These aren't as wide. This is when I was working smaller. Yeah, it wants to be 5 inches. I'd just done this as a template. Confused myself then. So yeah, work with this one. This is what we want. Because the box is 5 inches, you want the wrap to be the same height. Yeah. So what we're going to do then is this one, I've scored it on each side. I've scored now then, this is why I kept the templates here. So the top one, the small one, the 6 by 5, let me just put you these down so that you can see. Yeah, score on the box lid side. Now my scoreboard, when making boxes, you've got a box lid on the left and a box base on the right. So this one, I use the box lid. And I just created 1/2 inch, so one at that side and one at that side, to create a glue tab to fasten it together. All right, so this is going to be the top part that goes over here like so. Okay, like this. And then we're going to fasten the other one to it with the glue tabs. So we'll burnish those in place in a second. That's that one done. And then the longer piece, when I worked out where the measurements were, it worked out better that I did it on the base side of mine, and I'd written myself a note to score on the box base. All right, so we want, let's have a little look, 1 1/4 inches. All right, so on here, 1 1/4, and this board is actually made that it's just got a slightly bigger gap here, so it allows for that. Sometimes you just add a bit on, but this actually allows for it to work. So 1 1/4 inches from the base. If you don't have this kind of scoreboard, that's where these extra 1/16 of an inch came in, just to make sure that it fits around the casing, around the drawer that we've made. So put those to one side, get rid of the scoreboard, And then again, we're just going to burnish those fold lines. So everything wants to be burnished in place. Just teaching that cardstock what you want it to do, like so. And then we'll do the same with this one. Now the 1/2 inch ones are the tabs. So I am just going to take a tiny bit off the edges of these. Whenever it's a glue tab, it saves having any little elements stuck out when you stick them together. There's nothing worse than having an element stuck out, is there? Right, so get rid of those. Now we don't need to do that on the top one. Let me just get rid of that bit on here, because even though these look like tabs, these are actually the side elements of the box, and it's going to fit together like so. All right, so I'm going to stick one of them together. So on the glue tab where we took the corners off, I'm going to add my wet glue again. A, it gives me time to just move everything into place, and B, we've got that element of strength from that wet glue. So I'm just going to line this up on here, just up to the edge of the score line, and make sure that it's running parallel, and then give it a squeeze, and just make sure that the whole thing is running nice and straight. So you can see that edge is nice and parallel with the other piece that I've stuck it to. And then I'm just going to apply some pressure there and get that side nicely stuck. And then rather than going ahead and sticking this one together, I'm actually going to put it around the box. Okay, like so, and just do a double check that the whole thing is going to fit nicely. Now for some reason that one isn't. Why is it not working? Fits better one way than the other. What have I done? Jan, something's not right there. I made that last time and it worked perfectly, but there's something not right there. My box come up a little bit big. Let me just have a look, measure the box there. We've got 5 inches by 5 inches, and then we've got 5 inches, 5 inches. So yeah, that should work. And this is why it's better to do it around the box rather than, for some reason it's that side that's not deep enough. Right, bear with me. Have I overlapped it there? What I am going to try and do, and this could be fatal. No, I'm not. That's going to rip it. I think I've perhaps overstuck it on that side. Yeah, I'm going to make it work. It's just, it doesn't quite meet. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to stick it quite to the edge. For some reason, I'm beginning to wonder whether I added those 16ths on now. That's about what it's short. I think when I've measured this one and cut it, it's about 1/8 of an inch short, which were those extra 16ths. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop that on there like that, and then just bring it round for the sake of the video as far as it will come without actually squishing anything. Just hold that in place. You know, it doesn't want to stick now. I had this trouble with my glue the other day. I'm beginning to think it's because it's so warm in the conservatory here. Yeah, when you look at this, it's about 1/8 of an inch short. Fits fine that side. It's this one that's a bit short here. Right, I know roughly where it wants to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to not quite bring this one all the way around. I'm going to leave a gap in this one here, like so. Okay, and we'll get that one stuck. And I think this, I'm beginning to think now when I've cut it, that I haven't added that extra 1/8 of an inch on, because that's what we're missing here. So I'm just going to leave it like that for the time being, because we're going to put some trim over here anyway, and then we should be able to slide this one. In fact, that's the base. It wants to go that way and that way and slide together. Yeah, okay. That's it, we're sorted. Yeah, I think what I've done when I've cut the piece, so the measurements were right, I've just not added that extra 1/16 of an inch on each side when I cut it. So yeah, the measurements were okay. We just need that extra 1/8 of an inch in total to finish. But like I said, I'm going to put some cardstock over here, so we'll disguise it along the way. So we've got our box made. Don't worry about the gaping, because I'm going to put a top and a bottom on it. So I'll talk to you about that in a minute. I'm just going to add the pieces here on. So I've got, this is the blue cardstock that I've used for the matting and layering, and I've got 4 pieces, and we're going to put these along here like so, and then I've got ones to go on the inside. So let me just look which ones were which. There. Yeah, so all I'm going to do then, I'm going to use the tape runner for this one, and what we're going to do is I'm going to put effectively 2 of them on the sleeve. So like I said, we're going to cover up that bit where we had a bit missing, and then we're going to put 2 of them on the sides of the box. So again, a little bit of glue on there. So this is the opposite side to that one. And they're like so. And then these 2 are actually going to go on the box sides. Like so. Now you can leave these plain. I did consider embossing these pieces, but in the end I decided to keep them just flat, because it is a linen textured cardstock anyway. So again, we've got those decorated, and then the final 2 pieces, which is why I wasn't too worried about the where it gapes. It is the right width, it's just the box gapes a little bit when it went in. It did this on the sample that I made, but what we're actually going to do is add a base and a top. So I've got 2 more pieces that are 5 1/4 inches square. So these are just slightly bigger. If you remember, this was 5 inch. So when we put this on, it allows for that little bit of extra room. Now I am going to use my all-purpose glue for this one, because it dries so hard. It's going to give me a top and a base. So I want the box to open towards me. So I'm just going to look at the underneath bit here. Is that where we stuck it together? Yeah. And then I'm going to cover the base in my all-purpose glue. Okay, and then we're going to stick this in the center of the piece underneath. So I'm just going to hover over the top, and there should be a small border all the way around, and that's why the wet glue comes in handy, because you can just see all the way around that you've got a nice even border. Okay, and then leave that one, give that a good press on there, and then we're going to put the other one, which is exactly the same size, on the top. So this time, top of the box, and then that allows for that little bit where it's almost where it squeezes the box when it goes in the sleeve. That gapage then will actually get hidden underneath it. So you just want to line that up with the one underneath it, and you've got your box at the ready there. And then this is ready for this one to go on top of it, like so. So I'm going to decorate this one separately. I'm going to leave this one to dry. Pop that to one side for a second. And then we're going to decorate the easel card, which again, I've got some of this prepped ready because I wanted to concentrate on the construction. So apologies for that. As I say, I think when I measured mine, for some reason, this piece here, I'd added the 16th on, and this should be 5. That's why. I think that's where it's gone wrong. This should be 5 in the middle. So 5, 6, 7, 7 1/4, 7 1/2, 7 3/8 it should be here. That's where it's gone wrong. So this bit wants to measure 7 3/8, and that's the 1/8 of an inch that I was missing on the wrap. So this was 5. Yeah, so I'll leave that there just for you to check. 7 3/8. Yeah, I'd missed these. I'd added them on when I'd done my pencil work, but not obviously when I'd cut it. Okay, and then just measure in at 1 1/4 inches. Okay, so as far as the decoration is concerned, as I say, I've done some of this in preparation. So the front of it, I've just gone for a simple matten layer, and I've popped some ribbon around it. So it's very, very narrow, the border on this, because it was only a 5-inch square card. I've gone very narrow on the border. So my blue matte piece is 4 7/8, and my pattern paper is 4 5/8. Okay, and what we're going to do is pop that one flat on the front. My glue's running out. I do have another bottle ready, but here we go. So that one's going to go flat, making sure that it opens up the right way. This one's going to go on here, and then we're going to decorate the front. And again, that wet glue just allows you to slide everything in place, give it a press. And then I've done the same for the inside here, but I've got a slightly different setup because I just wanted to use one piece of paper, and my paper is from an old Crafter's Companion Nature's Garden collection called Delightful Daisies. It's a beautiful paper pad, and I've just taken some of the blues out of here, and I just wanted to use the one sheet. So because I cut down the front to be 5 3/8, that's 5 5/8, sorry, I'd got a strip off here and a strip off here, so I've used that strip at the front. I've popped a little piece of white in here so that you can write a message, and then we need the stopper. So again, I've got a scrap left over of the blue. This is the other piece. I cut one piece off the side here, one piece off the top, and the reverse of it is plain. So I've just reversed it over, and then I've popped some foam tape on here to lift this to become my stopper. So first of all, we need to pop this one in. And I am going to use the tape runner now because, as I say, the glue is running out. I need to start my new bottle, I think. But that one will work for the inside here. So we make sure it's the right way up again, that it's facing us. And this one's going to go right in the middle there and leave that nice little border again of the cream showing. And then we just need to take the liner off the tape. And this is going to bridge that gap. And this is going to be the stopper for the actual card. So just get the liner off there. Oops. Come along. Cheeky bit trying to hang on there. And then all I'm going to do is pop that across the gap here. So I've put my little embellishment on here. I've got a couple of flowers on the inside ready, and all I'm going to do with this one is this is just wide enough to overlap the paper and the patterned, the white piece. So this one is 1 1/8, and the pattern piece is 1 inch by the width, which was the 4 7/8. And then I've just made this piece big enough to drop behind it. So I'm literally just going to eyeball here whereabouts it wants to be. and just drop that across from one side to the other there and give it a press down, and then that acts as the stopper for that easel card. And then all we've got to do is just decorate the front. Now I've got one or two things, as I say, prepared for it, and I will show you what I've used. Again, this is an old die set. I knew I had a set in here that made an envelope, and again, it's a really old one. It was a collection called Crafty Fun from one of the Sarah signature collections at Crafter's Companion, and I love the envelope. Now I've not cut the detail into this one. This comes as a die to make the envelope, and then you can cut in these elements if you wish. And then there were lots of embellishment dies on here. So what I've done is I've cut my envelope out of some vellum. Let me just open that back up again for you, and you can see here, if I put that one on there, you can see that nice and simple, straight die cut, and then you just fold in the pieces here, and you've got that gorgeous envelope. Now I'm going to leave this part open. Obviously you can fold it too if you wanted to make a true vellum envelope, and I'm just going to use a tiny little bit of my wet glue right along the edges here, because it dries clear, whereas we will see this when it's still white, but it dries clear. So once the envelope's dry, we're not going to see that detail. So again, I'm just going to very gently rub my hand across there, my finger across there. I don't want it to squeeze out too much. Just use the cloth there if any of it has come out. And as I say, once it's dried, it dries clear, so we're good to go with it. Let's pop that one back on there, and then I'll talk you through the rest of the embellishments. As I say, most of them I've used the dies off here. So we've got the little butterflies. There are two butterflies. I've cut those in a couple of shades of blue, just as an embellishment. The flowers here are really pretty, and I've cut those twice, once in cream and edged them with some blue ink, and once in lemon, and I've edged those with a little bit of lemon ink. And we're going to use those on the envelope as some embellishments, okay? And then it also had these gorgeous little tiny swirly bits, and instead of leaves, I've just popped some of these in just to sort of break up the flowers a little bit. So we'll leave those in the box. The two little hearts of what I put, as I say, the lemon and the blue on here, and then the two flowers that were left over I've just popped on the inside to link it together. So that was that one. And then the little sentiment for the envelope, this is just a piece of card that I cut to fit inside the envelope. So I measured the envelope, and I come up with 2 3/4 by 1 3/4 inches, which is what I've measured here. So 2 3/4 by 1 3/4, and then I've just rounded the corners with my corner punch, and then I've used this one, Happy Birthday one. This was brought out when Crafter's Companion brought out the Gemini Mini, and they are lovely little smaller dies that'll go through your smaller cutting machines. And I've just cut that. Now I cut it twice because it has this element here that technically you can see through. I cut it once in blue and once in yellow. So the original sample's got the yellow sentiment with the blue pieces out of here inlaid into it. This has got the blue sentiment with the yellow pieces from this one inlaid into it. So a little bit of paper piecing, and this is going to slot inside our envelope here like this. So I'm just going to let it sit inside. I'm not actually going to fasten it together. And then on the back of here, where I know that element is, I'm going to put a bit of my red line tape just across the back of the envelope now, because I know that that little piece of message is going to cover that up when it goes on the card. All right, so we're going to have that on there, and we'll pop this one straight onto the card. So again, get rid of the backing, and this one's just going to sit. Let me move all these across a little bit here. This one's just going to sit at an angle over here like so, and then I'm just going to use that to stick it down. Okay. Now, because I'm going to put the flower embellishments at this side, I'm going to pop a little bit of my acrylic glue again under here, and I'm just going to let that give it a second to grab while we do the rest of the embellishments. So the butterfly, he's going to go right up at the top here to offset the envelope, and I've just put glue in the middle so that the wings will still lift up. And then we've got the flowers to do the decorating. I'm going to go sort of round the corner of the envelope like so. So again, we will start with the cream one, and I've just put some pearls in the centre of these to sort of echo the colour scheme. So the cream ones have got blue in, the lemon ones have got sort of a plain pearly coloured gem in the middle. And I am going to go, in fact that one wants to be a bit higher up there, I think. Just round the corner with them. I've kept them flat, they're not anything fancy, they are just as they've die cut. And then I want to go up to the top with the lemon. And I'm going to alternate them. We need the lemon one again. And just tuck it through so that they're all like sort of linked together and they're not sort of just flowers, you know, popped on. It wants to look as if it's part of a little cluster there. And then this one again, I'm going to pop over that one so that it's linked again, like so. And then these little tiny bits, as I say, I'm going to use these to just add, instead of a leaf, I just thought, seeing as they were part of the actual die set, we would use those to tuck underneath and add a little bit of interest there. So I'm going to do them at 3 points, pop a little bit of glue on them. We're going to go for that sort of each edge and then one at the corner as well. So again, just a little bit of glue. And then we're going to bring one down this side here as well. Just going to lift the flower up, tuck it underneath, and let that one just pop out the bottom. Now I did add doubles on the original one, but you get the idea there. Started off like this, and I'd got the others left, so I thought, you know what, I may as well add. I've got them in sets of 2 on this one. Now I did add the bow, which was made with the same ribbon, but I'm not sure about this. The ribbon looked fine. The ribbon sort of fell into the background of the card. But when I put the bow on it, to me, this is too turquoise for the design. It wanted blue ribbon, not turquoise. Never noticed it here. As I say, this disappears. It is in the background and the pattern paper sort of absorbs it. But when you get as far as the actual bow, I did make one for it, I think this is too turquoise. So I'm going to leave it off this time. Just let me know in the comments what you think. You know, blue, you know, turquoise is part of the blue family, but to me, I often work in monochrome, which you may have gathered by now. These have actually got, you know, a couple of colours on here. We've got the blue and the yellow on here, but I just think when you look at this pale blue in here, which picks up the background nicely, the lemon picks up the centres of the daisies, this to me is way too turquoise. Okay, so let me know your thoughts on that in the comments. Does it bother you? Does it not? Sometimes I think I overthink things way too much. And then again, I'm going to see if I've got enough left in here. And we're just going to add this then to the top of the box. So we'll bring our box back in here. Make sure that we've got the opening at the front or the back, whichever you prefer. And the card wants to be above where the drawer opens. So I'm just going to flip the whole thing over now and add more of the glue. I think we've just got enough left in here to add some underneath here. And again, making sure it's in the right orientation. Pop that one down, and again there should be a little cream border all the way around because our base piece was 5 1/4 and the card is 5 inches. So again, I just want to make sure that that's made contact all the way around and let that dry. And then we've got our gorgeous little easel box there. Really pretty. nice and easy to make, especially when you cut the card the right length. So apologies for that. I know what I've done. I can see quite clearly what I'd done with it. It just wanted to be that extra 1/8 of an inch longer before I did the score lines. So you can see there. Now the only things that I added to the sample, apart from the turquoise bow, which is really bugging me, I might have to change that and put something else on there, is a couple of gems on the sentiment here. I didn't add any others because we've got quite a bit going on the front, but I couldn't resist adding a couple on the stopper. So you can just see here, this looked a bit bare, so I've put some on the stopper here. And then on the front of the drawer, you can put on here whatever you want in order to open it. You could punch a hole, thread some ribbon through to pull it. You could put a button on here to pull it. If you've got the little metal handles, you could do that. There's lots of different ways. I just put a decorative element on mine. I've just punched out a long oval shape, and I've put a brad through mine, which you can actually get hold of to pull, but because it's the matchbox style, you can push the box from the back anyway, so it pushes through like so, and then once you've got it open, you can actually pull it from the front. And you can see there that we've got that gorgeous little bit of paper inside the box just to finish it off, and then that one goes back inside, and you've got that gorgeous easel card box as a really nice gift. As I say, what I would do with this is actually wrap the whole thing as if it was a gift. This is really bugging me now. I'm going to have to cover this bit up. It's really annoying me. I need something that's more this light blue, I think, rather than the turquoise. But yeah, wrap the whole thing as if it was a gift, and then you've got the card and the gift box all in one, and you can pop a nice little wrapped gift or some chocolate, sweeties, whatever you want inside there for the recipient. So yeah, excuse the mistake on the measurements. It just shows, you know, we're all real. I could have edited it out, but no, this is me. You know, I like to show you sort of my workings and my thinking, and yeah, we'll leave it there for posterity. So let me know about this turquoise. Does it bug you as much as it does me? Let me know. And did you prefer the sentiment? If I'm honest, I think I prefer the blue sentiment, but then that's just going to highlight that this is the wrong colour even more, isn't it? But yeah, they are interchangeable. So yeah, do you like the blue sentiment with the yellow inlay, or do you like the yellow sentiment with the blue inlay? Well, lots of dilemmas going on today, haven't I? But yeah, definitely the wrong colour on the Bojan. Bad choice. May not bother you guys, but it is really, really bothering me. Let me know down in the comments. Give it a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it today, and I'll be back very soon with another tutorial for you. So enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll be back soon, minus the turquoise bow. Bye bye now.